I want to tell you that this year in the state Senate has been different. It was different on December the 13th when I got invited by one of my colleagues to join him for a private meeting. And he told me that he could not vote for John Wilder. And I knew up to that point in time I had spent all of my waking moments just about trying to put together 16 votes and at the same time talking to one Republican on a regular basis to make the 17th vote to re-elect him. And you might say, well, why would you want to re-elect an 85-year-old man as Speaker of the Senate? Well, very frankly, it wouldn't have made any difference to me who it was as long as it was a Democrat. And I had said that all along. When he told me that he couldn't vote for John Wilder, I quizzed him and we talked and went back and forth, and I left, and we met again, and he said, Joe, I want you to run for Speaker. And I said, I don't think I can do it. So he called me 2 days later and he says, are you running or not? And you know, you've always heard the old saying, it takes three people to talk you into running and 3,000 to talk you out of it. In this case, it was one, and the next thing you know, I was throwing my hat in the ring. It didn't turn out too well, because I knew on the first ballot everybody had to lose for me to have an opportunity. I should have known when I called one of my colleagues that she probably was not going to be with me. We had a conversation. It didn't turn out too well. But I had no suspicion that she wasn't going to vote for John Wilder until I was looking right at her on the Senate floor when she answered and said Ramsey. Most of my colleagues in the Democratic caucus, I say all of my colleagues in the Democratic caucus were stunned. As chairman of the caucus, the first person I talked to was Jim Kyle, our leader, our minority leader, and he said, I want to kick her out of the caucus. So here I am trying to figure out how to keep the caucus together, because when you've got 16 and you need 17, you don't go around kicking people out of the caucus. That's one. So we're in a heck of a position. And then I found out that she had made some arrangements to take care of Democrats with Senator Ramsey, who was then Speaker Ramsey. And we have 9 chairs, 9 standing committees. In the past, under Wilder, even though I have objected to it over the years, he has split, he has appointed some Republicans, but he's appointed all the committees with a majority of Democrats, and he's appointed mostly chairs, Democratic chairs, at least 5 and 4. And we had the Finance Committee under Senator Henry, which was important, I think, to Democrats and to us here in Davidson County. And it was my understanding that Senator Henry was to be reappointed as chair of the Finance Committee, and that was one of the arrangements that she had made. Well, she had also arranged for at least 2 more Democrats to be appointed. And I don't know what the other part of the deal was that had been cut. But I want to tell you how it turned out. Out of the 9 standing committees, we have 2 Democrats serving as chairs. One is Senator Harper, and one is Senator Kilby. And strangely enough, Senator Kilby's already announced his retirement at the end of his term, which will be next year. So they picked somebody who can't hurt them, because he's going to go away and not be in office anymore. And how did we turn out on the committees? Well, they're all 5-4. There are 5 Republicans and 4 Democrats. And I hope you'll pardon me, but we couldn't pass gas in the Senate with the Democrats right now, if the Republicans make up their mind to sit down on us. It's unfortunate. It's the first time it's happened, even though 2 years ago, if you recall, we had a similar situation because we just lost the majority of the Senate when we lost Senator Graves and lost Senator Trail in that tide that George W. brought through Tennessee. It's amazing what a difference 2 years makes. And George W. couldn't get enough votes to be elected dog catcher. That's right. But be that as it may, that's where we are. How does this affect us? Well, we know how it affects us. Last year we passed a minimum wage bill out of committee, out of a democratically controlled committee, and it was tight. Guess where that bill will be killed this year? In the committee. It won't come to the floor. This year we elected Low Finney and beat McCleary, who swapped parties in Jackson, in that area down there, that senatorial district. And one of the main things that we had going for us was that McCleary had voted against the minimum wage on the Senate floor. So if they can kill it in committee, it'll never get to the Senate floor. So we can make them vote on something like minimum wage. So that's what we lost the ability to do as a result of losing the Senate and having a speaker who is a Republican speaker. Just for your information, if you don't know, and I'm sure you do, the Republican speaker, or any speaker, has the ability to appoint whoever they want to whatever committee, and to appoint the chairs of those committees. It's completely within the power of one person. And that's the way the system is in the House and in the Senate. So it's an extremely powerful position. Well, in addition to minimum wage, I think you will see this year the medical malpractice reform bill come out of committee and come to the floor. And it will pass, in my opinion, it will pass the Senate barely with the Republicans' help. And I think what you're doing, and I don't do medical malpractice work anymore, I have in the past, and I will tell you that they are the toughest lawsuits that anybody can ever hope to have. Let me tell you why they're tough. Because the standard of care, you've got to find somebody, an expert somewhere, either in Tennessee or a contiguous state, to come into court and testify as to the standard of care and if that standard of care was violated. It's bad doctors that cause the problem in malpractice. It's not bad lawyers and bad courts and bad judges, I'll guarantee you that. But you will see it pass the Senate this year, and the House will have to stop it. Always in the past, when we had a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate, they would have to stop some things that were bad, and we'd have to stop other things that were bad, but we could sort of share it and not just have to dump it on one house or the other. This time, the House of Representatives will have to be they'll have to be the gold digger, so to speak, and they'll have to stop the stuff that shouldn't be passed. Let's talk about the environment. Governor Bredesen has created the Heritage Conservation Trust to buy land and preserve our state's natural resources.